Welcome, New Jersey Devils fans, to another episode here on YouTube of the Jersey Devils Brocast or Shorty. As always, you can catch us Tuesday nights on Radio Garden State. Catch that on the Tunein app, Audacy app, and radio.net. And, of course, radiogardenstate.com to listen in and check out our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages. But, man, oh, man, has this been a fun week and a half of hockey. If you are a huge fan of hockey like I am, this is awesome. This is amazing. The best on best. I love it. I know some of the old school folks love just amateurs in the Olympics. I want best on best. I want the best Americans versus the best Slovakians against the best Canadians and the best Finnish players and Swedish players and everybody. And it has been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. And we got a lot to talk about here. I mean, this has been a lot, right? Devils haven't played. For some of us, it's given us a little bit of a break to bring the blood pressure back down, get ourselves leveled out here as we enter the home stretch with 25 games to go. We're getting to a little bit of that during this episode as well, but more or less we're beginning to that Tuesday night, the episode after the Olympics. We got a lot to talk about here for Team USA. Women winning against Canada. Keller with that amazing overtime goal. I will say this, for women's hockey, the United States has been kind of playing second fiddle to Canada for a long time. So now, 2 out of the last 3 Olympics, we got gold. I think that's a statement. The U.S. women's hockey program is elite. It is here. Hillary Knight punched her ticket into the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. If not the Hockey Hall of Fame, period, she should up in Toronto with her performance. Clutch goal, leadership, great captain. That was great to see for the U.S. women's team. And that was a great way to start, this whole stretch here to end the Olympics. Team USA winning today against Slovakia and a blowout against the Slovakians. And we saw just how special Jack Hughes is. Big matchup and a rematch against Canada from the Four Nations last year. This is what we have waited 12 months for, right? Right after that game, I said, I can't wait for the Olympics when we actually play for gold, a gold medal in the Olympics, which means a little bit more than Four Nations. Now, Slovakia and Finland going for bronze. That game is tomorrow. U.S. and Canada Sunday morning. You're going to have to get up Sunday. For all of you that might be hungover from a big night out on Saturday, you might want to set an alarm because that game is early, 8:10 a.m. out on the East Coast. For those of you on the West Coast, I guess that's going to be even earlier, so you might miss it. But it's going to be fun. So let's do a little roundup here. Devils stats from the Olympics so far. Timo Meier had a great showing. Meier March showed up here in February in Milan. In 5 games played, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. Nico Hischier, 5 games. Goal, 3 assists, 4 points. Respectable performance by our captain. Jack Hughes, man. This is why we love Jack. We're getting to that in a little bit. 5 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, 2 goals against Slovakia. Simone Nemec, 5 games, 0 goals, 2 assists, 2 points. Now, Simone Nemec, I think everyone in Slovakia got caved in against USA, but otherwise he had a very good performance in these Olympics, generated a lot of chances. There were some articles that were written about him, and I was creating more chances than almost every other defenseman in the tournament, which was great to see. Moving on, Jesper Bratt, 4 games played, but not really. Sat a lot. An assist. Was one of Sweden's best players in the third period in overtime against USA. I have no idea why he sat. That is fascinating, and I would love to hear the real reasons for that because he's one of their most skilled players. You'd think even if he had a bad game to start and was a little slow, why wouldn't you want to try and get this guy going? He can change your team. He's a dynamic player. He's a top-line forward. That was very confusing. And Siegenthaler, back to the Swiss team, 5 games played, no goals, no assists, -2. He was sort of their shutdown defender, reason why they, put up a little bit of a fight here. Swiss hockey's on the rise, I'd say. Years ago, they didn't really have anybody, and now they have some legit NHLers and some top-line NHLers in that roster, too, so that's pretty cool to see. But Devils players overall really did show up, really did play pretty well. which in looking on Facebook, Instagram, and everything, a lot of the comments and things I see from the fans is the issue the players, or has the issue been maybe some other things going on with this team and why they haven't performed? Because our top guys went to Milan, went to the Olympics in a big stage, and they all played very well. So we will see. That'll be for a discussion Tuesday night, so tune in for that. But the Devils had a good showing in the Olympics, I'd say, overall. But moving on to the big stuff here. What does this mean for U.S. hockey? Now, I talked about this a lot last year in the Four Nations about how I think USA hockey has been on the rise for a long time, a steady rise from the 1980 Miracle on Ice and this underdog story to slowly over time with Canada Cups and other World Cups, you see us having a little bit better teams, a little bit better, and a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Not necessarily in the results, but I think in the overall talent and the rosters, it got better and better and better over time. And I think right now this team is the best team USA Hockey has ever put out. No disrespect to the 2010 team in Vancouver, Salt Lake in '02, even the World Cup winners in '96. Elite guys, Hall of Famers. I mean, just from those mid '90s guys, Madonna, Hull, LaFontaine, Brian Leach, Kachuk, Amonte, Leclerc. You had even guys like Phil Housley in the mix there. Mike Richter. All right. I mean, he was a big game goalie, but we don't like to talk about him or Leach. Then you move on to the '02 team, pretty much the same cast of characters, maybe some other guys thrown in there, Billy Guerin, Brian Ralston, some of our favorites from the Devils past. 2010, it was like Kane and Parisi, Ryan Miller, Pavelski. I'm not saying none of those guys would be on this team right now, but I think when you look at the bottom six on those teams, the bottom four defensemen on those teams, I'd say the backup goalies and the other goalie options on all of those teams, this is by far the best. Because, it was Mike Richter and I think Guy Bear in the '90s, and then Mike Dunham or Tom Barrasso. And now you have Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman, two guys that are legitimate number one Vezina caliber goalies. Back then you had maybe Leach in the mid '90s, still kind of prime Leach as your number one defenseman. That was great. Rafalski was their best defenseman in 2010. I mean, right now you have Quinn Hughes, who's arguably the best defenseman in the game. He's been right up there with Cale Makar. Zach Werenski is right up there as well. Jacob Slavin is the best defensive defenseman in hockey right now. Jake Sanderson and Brock Faber are two guys that look like they're franchise defensemen on the rise as well. It's the type of talent on the back end I just don't think they've ever had. In 2010, you had Ryan Suter. You had nice guys back there. I think Gleason. But, man, this is stacked. And even the forward group. Nothing against. I love Jamie Langenbrunner. Brian Ralston and those guys back in '02 maybe. But would those guys make this team? When you have Austin Matthews, the Kachuk brothers, Jack Eichel, Jack Hughes is on the third line with Tage Thompson and Dylan Larkin. Boldy has been great. Jake Gensel. Their fourth line is JT Miller, Nelson, and Trocheck right now. That was used to be like the second line or the third line for Team USA back in the day. And that's the fourth line that they could have even stacked up with other talented guys that they left off the roster, but they chose to have a more defensive, physical fourth line, which I think is a good idea. Now, I like Jason Robertson. I wish he made the team. I'd probably have him on the team over a few other guys, but still, we're here. Gold medal game. It shows just how talented Team USA is, where American hockey is at. And now as a guy that grew up here in Jersey in the '90s and seeing maybe hockey, I could say in its infancy around here, but it's not necessarily a huge deal, becoming a big deal. We know of all the hockey programs in New Jersey and parochial schools and even some of the public schools, especially Central Jersey. Yes, Central Jersey exists. And what they've done, I just think it's really cool to see where American hockey is at. Regardless of what happens on Sunday, I think the fact that this is now a team that's like expected to win gold, right? That wasn't always the case in 2014. Wasn't necessarily, kind of was the case, but still we knew they were on an underdog. In 2010, it was definitely an underdog. In 2002, in 96, what made that story great was they were an underdog like 1980. Are they an underdog on Sunday? Yes, but not by much. This team has expectations to win gold. If they win on Sunday, it shouldn't surprise anybody. It's not a shock. It's not this Cinderella story. They should have a chance to win on Sunday, and they do. The last thing I saw was a 49% chance to win. That's pretty much where I'd put this, 49 to 51. The edge to Canada, sure, but U.S. has a chip on their shoulder after last year, and they have some elite talent, and I think they can keep up with the Canadians, and I think we're going to see that on Sunday. So make sure you catch that game because get up early, have a cup of coffee, because that game should be legendary. And now an American player that we should talk about is Jack Hughes. What he did against Slovakia today and the showing that he's had and how well he's played. So I posted today, this is the Jack Hughes we all know and love. And I have been on the record of saying things like, oh, maybe we should trade the Hughes brothers, do all that stuff. Now, I did say for significant, serious players in my defense. I'm not saying just for anybody. I'm not one of those fans that's like, trade him for picks. You're not going to draft another Jack Hughes, right? And we see when he is on his game, he is one of the best players in the league, period. We saw that in the playoffs in 2023 and in that entire season. When he's healthy and he's feeling it, he is one of the best players in hockey, period. He's a special player. He's a guy who loves the spotlight, who loves the big moments, who loves the big games. I'm starting to think the issue isn't necessarily Jack Hughes, but maybe the team around him and the structure around him, or maybe even the style they're trying to implement recently that just hasn't been working. But Jack is a special player, and I think we should really appreciate him. And I know it's frustrating with the injuries. I know it's frustrating with the Chicago steakhouse knife thing, glass. I don't know what happened. But certainly appreciate this guy because the performance he put on today against Slovakia, and honestly, if this goes to overtime on Sunday, Jack Hughes is a guy I want out there. I want him out there. Him and his brother Quinn. Now, U.S. has a few guys you want out there. Matthews, Eichel, Kachuk brothers, Quinn Hughes, Werenski, Gensel. But Jack is a guy you would definitely want out there. So let's appreciate him regardless of what happens. Let's maybe make up for booing his brother and really cheer him on when he comes back because we have a big stretch here. And if he can continue this play, maybe the Devils actually have a chance to get into the playoffs. So, in saying that, here are my predictions. Slovakia and Finland. I think Finland's going to win. They are a better team. I'd love to see Slovakia put up a good fight. I'd love to see a nice game by Simone Nemec to end the Olympics. He's played pretty well overall. Would be nice to see him have a really good showing here in the last game, put up a few points. I'm kind of rooting for Slovakia. I'm going to go Finland 4-2. Sunday, the big one, USA, Canada. I'm going to go Team USA 3-2 over Canada overtime. And let's go Jack Hughes with the goal. All right. So, in saying that, let's go Team USA. As always, let's go Devils. You can check us out Tuesday night, 9 o'clock on Radio Garden State. Check it out on the Audacy app, Tunein app, radio.net, or radiogardenstate.com. All right. So, let's go Team USA. Let's go Devils. Enjoy a wonderful weekend of hockey. I think it's going to be memorable. Definitely get up early Sunday and catch the game. All right. Let's go Devils.